G'day and welcome to another Mark Bishop show. The old cliche, nothing like a box of chocolates. Why? Because you never know what you're going to get. Do you recognize this lady on screen? Have a guess. Go on, see if you can. $40,000 question. She's famous. Maybe if you're too young, you might not know. I don't know. PETA founder, yes, President Ingrid NewKirk, celebrated her 75th birthday on June 11th. Now, this, of course, was produced. What's today? It's July 5th. We're talking about June 11th, 2024. That's what's, by the way, congratulations, Ingrid. Happy birthday, belated.
Thank you. Still breathing.
Yes, you look great. I thought it'd be a great idea to bring her on and have a chat about her agency. Peter's still doing good, marvelous work, many victories for animals. Well, then maybe we can find out a little more how we can maintain hope. You know, there is so much cruelty and strife in the world right now. Peter was founded in 1980, and the group's had many landmark victories. Boy, you could be here all day. And including ending the all car crash tests on animals, persuading nearly every fashion board to go fur free, and achieving convictions for cruelty to animals in the meat industry, as well as the huge changes in public attitudes. It's an honor to have you on the show. As I said, a belated happy birthday. It was a busy day, your birthday. Anybody else would sit back, relax, maybe with the family, or go to a pub and have a meal, whatever. Oh, no, not Ingrid NewKirk. What were you doing? I've got some slides, so as you start talking, I might show them.
I had a celebration of my birthday in Chicago. And Chicago used to be called the butcher to the world. And millions upon millions of pigs, mostly pigs, but other animals, would come through there and be made into hot dogs, bacon, and ham. And actually, children used to be taken through the slaughterhouses on school tours. That's how much things have changed. They'd never be allowed to do that now.
Wow.
Amazing. But now all those slaughterhouses they've gone. And it's not to say that the meat industry is gone, certainly, but there are shopping malls in their place. I went to Chicago to commemorate those times, but also to celebrate my birthday by driving around a pig truck. It's not a real pig truck, but it looks like one. It has photographs, real photographs, all over the side of a pig transporter. So you can see the faces, the expressions on the faces of each little pig. And it has a soundtrack, so it draws attention. If anyone's walking by, they can't help but hear the actual recording of pigs crying, screaming, squealing.
Oh, that's a horrible sound. That is that's a sound that stays with you, doesn't it?
Oh, it really does. I mean, a pig's scream, a pig's squeal is almost ear shattering. So
Okay.
everybody would stop, everybody would have a look, and I had free vegan starter kits. You see that little green box, they're vegan starter kits to hand everybody,
Right.
which gives them recipes and tips and health pointers and so on. But then I went on and handed out hundreds of vegan hot dogs to people who adored them.
There's that shot there. Wow. Okay.
And Mark, I found out something I didn't know, that Chicago has a rather unique way to serve a hot dog. They always use a sesame seed bun, and they put a dill pickle and hot peppers inside with all the fixins, including fresh tomatoes. So it was great. My vegan hot dog had all the fixins.
Well, I tell you what, vegan. We're gonna get onto this. It's certainly becoming more popular. I think I interviewed the president of the company about 6 months ago, up 35% or something or other compared to real meat. But anyway, and here was the other shot with this. What were you actually doing here?
Oh, here I'm handing out vegan hot dogs to people. That was my way of celebrating. My mother would have been 100 and something recently, and she loved children, she loved animals. So for her birthday, we gave out 100 free meals to orphans in India outside Delhi. And I thought, well, I'm going to do the same sort of thing for my birthday. we gave out the vegan hot dogs on the street, and people actually came out of the stores near where we'd set up shop to say, oh, we're working, but can we have some?
Lots of freebies. Oh, I want to touch on your mum in a minute. Yeah, so look, it looks like a beautiful day you got in Chicago.
We were very lucky, very lucky. It was a gorgeous day and people were out on the street. It was very crowded. And we ran out of hundreds of vegan hot dogs in a matter of about 20 minutes. And I thought,
Right.
oh,
So you would call that a very successful promotion then?
it was. And there was still time to have a celebratory drink and a meal afterwards that night.
That's
Yes.
good. So you celebrated your birthday. I remember, I want to talk about when the big PETA protest, remember the Ringling Brothers Circus, reinvented itself as a stunning animal-free circus. That was a big scale for you, wasn't it?
It was a big scale. We took years and years to get it to that point, because we actually protested every single Ringling Brothers performance all over the United States. And we had different themes. We would have elephants in chains to say, stop elephant slavery. And
Yes.
we would have the bull hook, which we would show children going into the circus and say, this is what they use, sweetie, when they're training the elephants. And we were sworn at. We had things thrown at us. Parents were furious with us sometimes. But gradually,
So. Yeah.
the light came on. And we had wonderful circus coloring books for the children about the free life of elephants out in the wild.
Yeah.
And eventually attendance dropped. We had a legal case through the United States Department of Agriculture, the Department of Justice, that showed that these baby elephants had died in Ringling's care and so on. And they decided enough's enough. So they folded the tent, disappeared. Now they're back, as you say, and there isn't a single animal in the show. It's acrobats and wire walkers and fire eaters and all
It's
human
incredible
quality.
when you think about it, when the turnaround, the reinvention, pretty incredible. Absolutely marvelous. Now, I want to touch on the law that PETA helped pass, which allows the US Food and Drug Administration to approve new medication. Share a little on that for us.
Well, there's a long way to go, Mark, because back in the 1920s, when all these new drugs and substances were coming on the market, nobody knew how to test them for safety. And so some bright spark came up with the idea of, let's force feed all these things to animals and see what happens. And of course, physiologically, animals are very different than us in key ways. So the effects on them don't necessarily translate. And we've lost a lot of good drugs because we've depended on the use of animals. And we've also had a lot of failures because of that. Their metabolism is different. They absorb things differently. So anyway, we have 19 scientists on board, and they work in every area, including toxicity, poisoning tests. And they all use alternatives, which are state-of-the-art, rather sophisticated means, not just jamming some substance down an animal's throat or smearing it on their back. And we have been going to these agencies and saying, let us help you modernize. And we are delighted that finally some of these agencies are saying, yes, there is a better way. You don't need the patter of little feet. You don't need to kill animals. And so we're seeing this change now. And some of the agencies have said, we don't need to test on animals. We will use an in vitro test, a test tube test, and human data. So it's really good. It's a step towards what we want, which in the end is no animals in cages in labs at all.
Well, there's been some shocking things when you go back, particularly bringing the monkeys over, what they did to them and the brains and God knows what else. I'm going to touch on a couple of books in a second with you. Of course, I think, what is it now? I think it's the 30th anniversary edition alone of this particular book, Free the Animals.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Yeah. And there's a forward in there by Wacom Phoenix in the thing as well. But there's something that caught my eye. Let's have a look. Oh, there we go. Look at that shocking thing with the putty tat. See that? See the
Yes, I
brain?
know. I do. That's a
Here's one
cat with an
example, folks,
electrode.
of the stuff that goes on. And there you are there with the little doggy. That's my doggy. That's Dixon. Isn't that funny?
Oh,
That's
that's my
exactly.
Conchita, Conchita
Ah!
Marie.
And this one here, I don't know if you can see it or not, but there we go, the poor monkey. You see all the, when you were all dressed up with the monkeys behind the cage? Anyway,
Yes.
free the animals, fantastic. And what I'm going to do, if I may, I'd like to invite you to another show that I do called Nothing Like a Good Book.
Ooh,
And
lovely.
we're going to talk about a new book, Animal Kind. And you penned this with Gene Stone, correct?
Yes, he was a great help.
Okay. And Alec Baldwin, Ingrid NewKirk is an inspirational leader, a heroine in a world where animals are more threatened than ever. Ingrid is their champion. Wasn't that nice? Anyway,
He's very kind. He's
I'll
very
send you
kind.
an invite through Rachel, okay, and we'll get all that organized for you. And is Gene here in the States? I mean, you both can be on.
He doesn't do shows really. He's a behind the scenes researcher and he begs me, please take the interviews.
Oh, okay. All right. Well,
he,
we'll do you, and we'll do that too. That's good because nothing like a good book is taking off. In fact, I had an author, Kevin Shuey, who was a heart surgeon of all things, a professional man, wrote a series of books, and boom, have they taken off? And a series, and Hollywood's picked it up. There's going to be a film. There's going to be TV series. God knows what. So you never know. Never know. You're like in a big city, as the saying goes. I want to talk
sounds
about India and the connection with your mother. Explain how that comes up. You weren't born in India, were you?
no, I was born in England, but when I was about seven and a bit, my father went to India. He was a navigational engineer.
All right.
And India thought that there was going to be a war with China. So everybody was very edgy. And he went over there because he designed bombing systems, believe it or not. And so my family went over to Delhi, and I was sent off to the hills, the everlasting snows, to school. But my mother, of her generation, didn't work, and she spent every waking moment as a volunteer. So she volunteered for Mother Teresa's orphanage, which was in Old Delhi. She volunteered for the leper colony. She volunteered for unwed
Whoa.
mothers, took
Right.
in stray animals, and so on. So that's the milieu I grew up in, with her saying, doesn't matter who suffers, it just matters if they suffer, what you can do about it.
Yes. So what I get out of that, Ingrid, is that it must have helped shape your belief, your whole thinking, your whole thought process about life and the
It
animals.
must have. It could only have done it. I wasn't aware of it. But, we would, when I came home from boarding school every year, I was home for 2.5 months every winter, and we would pack pills for the lepers. We would stuff cotton toys for the orphans. We would sell embroidery for the unwed mothers to raise funds for them because they'd been kicked out of their homes.
Right.
And we had a garden full of rescued animals. My mother would stop on the street as we were going somewhere, and if we saw a dog who had mange or an animal being hurt, of
Right.
course, we took care of them. So it could only have had an influence, but I was always drawn to animals.
Well, I'm glad you did at the age when many of your peers are they're really eyeing retirement, enjoying life a little. You still got your boots on the ground, no end in sight. You're running PETA, you've got hands on, you're writing books, you're giving talks, and you're protesting on behalf of animals. Now, there's something happening right now I think we wanted to touch on. Was it the bulls?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Right now, it's the run up to the run in Pamplona, the big bull run, where people come from Australia, they come from Germany, they come from the US, all over the world, mostly young men who want to drink a lot. And they go to Pamplona and they run with the bulls if they're really
Oh,
feeling
right.
daring
You
on
see
the
it.
track.
Yes, you see coverage from news bits and so on. I mean, that's stupid to me. That's dangerous.
Well, many of them get hurt, and every year somebody dies or loses a limb. But of course, the big problem is the poor bulls. They are big and they're fierce, but they're stampeded, they're petrified. And
That's
they
what I was
sleep.
going to say. For the bulls, let's look at their side of it now. They must be petrified. They just know what they've got to get from A to B. Are they just,
Yes.
is that where they're aiming at and running, and anything in the way, look out?
Yeah, and it's cobblestone streets. So
Yes.
they're giant hulk. They're slipping and they're sliding as they come around with men chasing them, men in front of them, people with all sorts of things waving at them. And they stampede to the bull ring. And every single one of those bulls, and many of them fall, but those bulls later that night, every night of the Pamplona bull run, will of course be stabbed. Picador will come along and stick a spike in their backs and their necks, and they will have their ears cut off. They will be, I mean, imagine this happening to a dog.
Yes,
Imagine
exactly.
if they had stampeded dogs down to the dog ring, and then they tormented them and stabbed them and did all these things. Nobody would allow it. So we are saying one thing is the church, the Roman Catholic Church, has for years had priests bless the bullfights. And this goes against every tenet of the church. So we
Well, there
want
you
the
go.
church out of it.
I mean, there's so many conflicting. I mean, religion. I mean, at the end of the day, though, since when was the bull run started? How many centuries does it go back? How traditional is it in that part of the world? I mean, it
That's
must
right.
be hard, Ingrid, to look when your heart, gets tugged to save the bulls. But here's something that the people and somebody could say, look, keep your nose out of it. That's their world. They've been doing it for thousands of years. That's their tradition. Who are you to come along and try and change something or stop it for that matter?
Well, I want to stop my fellow human beings from disgracing themselves, showing that they can't think, and being callous. Because if we think we're the thinking animal and we believe that we have compassion, and we teach our children the golden rule, do unto others as you would have them do unto you, then what in God's name are we doing, torturing a bull or wearing a fur coat or even eating a hot dog when we look at the slaughterhouse? So we just need to get over ourselves, don't we, Mark, and
I
look
think we
deeper.
do. I think we do. I think the older you get to, the more you appreciate what, uh, animals on the planet. We're all one. We're all connected in a different way. Ingrid, these days the demand for vegan food has skyrocketed. You must be happy about that.
Yes, and plant-based milks too. There's such a luxury selection of those. No matter what you like, vanilla, chocolate, macadamia, oat, rice,
Right.
it's just a ludicrous amount of choice. And I know a lot of people are turning to plant milk, not because of animals, but because of health. They're
Right.
worried about cholesterol and they're worried about heart attack. So
Mhm.
I'll take it. I don't really care why anybody changes, although I'd love to think that
Right.
we're a compassionate species. But,
Well, it'll get that way because let's face it, looking ahead as a futurist in some ways, we've got to be on other planets. Mars will be the first. What food are we going to eat? How's it going to
yeah,
be?
we're
You
not
know,
going to take cows up there, are we?
you were the subject of HBO's award-winning documentary, I Am an Animal, and was named one of Forbes' 100 most powerful women. How do you feel about that?
Well, I don't know how deeply they looked that I managed to make that list, but it was awfully nice of them.
Right.
Um, a lot of people watched that HBO documentary. Of course, I would have edited it very differently, but it does impart a message of what goes on in places most people don't see and
Yeah.
what my life is like, which hasn't changed since they made it. I'm busy every day doing things that I hope will help
Right.
people make kind choices. But life goes on, and you just do the best you can do while you're here.
Well, PETA.org, you do a lot of things for fundraising, don't you?
We do. I'm not a good fundraiser. I'm a good spender, Mark. If somebody sends the money in, I have a long list of animal things that need to be done.
Right.
And we do investigations, we do litigation, we do demonstrations, we do all sorts of
Well, you're
scientific.
going to keep me in tabs. Anything fresh and new, I'd appreciate it first.
All right.
But
Well, on
listen,
our website, as you just mentioned, our website, tons of new stuff every day.
oh, that's yeah, all righty. Well, but I wouldn't have minded some pictures. I mean, just to get the point home, because a pic, tells 1,000 words, but pretty dramatic. The ones of the bulls, pretty sad, but at the same time, getting it right across. If we'd have had some shots of that, I would have put it up.
We do have lots of shots that just came in this morning, actually.
Oh, there you go. So, well, if you send them to me, what I'll do is I'll do an edit on this, and I'll just put them in. I think we'll put them in as you're talking about that. Okay.
Oh, wonderful,
So
wonderful.
talk to
Thank you.
Rachel and get them to me as quickly as possible. I'd appreciate it. But listen, it's been a pleasure speaking with you. As I said, we'll have you on Nothing Like a Good Book, which will get up on my channel on YouTube soon. But this has the Mark Bishop Show has been a lot of audio. There's over 330 or something audio episodes of Fortune 500 executives on the channel. But I'm just starting to really get back into video, and I wanted to have a diversification of interesting and forward-thinking, thought-leading people as good as yourself. So thank you for coming on. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Mark. Thanks for doing the show.
Lovely having you. There we go, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you enjoyed it. Ingrid NewKirk, founder, president, way back in 1980 when it started. If you don't know about it, ask your mum and dad. They'll tell you. I'll see you soon.